All right, today we're going to demonstrate how to cut glass. A couple things that are very important. First of all, you need to have a pair of gloves so that way you don't cut yourself. They need to be tight fitting. You can buy these at a lot of home improvement stores such as Lowe's or Menards or Home Depot. You can even buy them at Rural King or Walmart. They range in different prices, but you want them to be tight fitting, tight enough to where you could pick up a dime with. You don't want to be just regular rubber gloves. You want to have something that's a little bit of a knit underneath to reduce the chance of cutting. It's not going to make you bulletproof, but it will protect your hands. Also, you need a good pair of safety glasses because glass can fly. Safety glasses, they need to at least cover the sides of the eyes, not just the front. If you wear regular glasses, you're either going to have to wear safety glasses on top of those, so you may need even a larger pair to accommodate your regular glasses if you wear those. And sometimes they do steam up a little bit, especially if you're having to wear a mask, like in coronavirus situation kind of territory. But they can fog up a little bit, but you do not want glass in your eye, trust me. So I'm going to put those on right now. We're going to practice, first of all, cutting with clear glass like so. It's dirty. It needs to be cleaned. Even if you thought it was clean, it's always a good idea to spray it. So we're going to be using some kind of glass cleaner. You want it on a mist setting, not on a stream. That way it doesn't make a big mess. And you just take some of our regular brown paper towel and you want to clean it. And I would clean both sides. Because sometimes when you're making other cuts, doing other things with the glass, you may flip it over and not realize you flipped it over. Some stained glass has two surfaces, and you always want to cut the smoother surface. But this glass that we're using here is just regular window pane glass, and it is smooth on both sides. It can be cut on both sides, no problem. But whenever you're doing stained glass that has a specialized texture on one side, you always want to use the smoother side of the glass, okay? So I'd make sure that this is pretty clean, fairly dry. You want to be free of debris, free of dust, especially glass dust, because that can cause a problem. It can damage your glass cutter. It can also keep you from being able to make an effective cut like you want to, okay? So just be careful as you carry it, because even though you got gloves on, these corners are pretty sharp. You don't want to injure yourself, okay? So the first cut that we're going to do in this demo, we're going to simply show you how to make a long cut. We're using a waffle grid. This waffle grid, it has little pockets, little holes to catch the little fragments of glass in. And that's why these surfaces are really, really great to use. Some people will use a table that is covered with some kind of cushion or padding, and those can work also. But a big deal, if you use those kind of tables, is that you'll need to make sure you sweep the glass off with a broom. By using this grid, this waffle grid, we can use a ruler just occasionally just to check and make sure no glass is sticking up out of these little pockets. Because if there's glass underneath this sheet of glass, when we go to cut it, if it was a table covered with felt or cushion, it could act as a lever. And so when you put your pressure on here, like pretend like this ruler is a piece of glass, it could break it and shatter it. Or if there's a piece of glass sticking out here and you just didn't see it, maybe it's just a little uneven, you didn't know, and you put pressure on here, it's going to break it. Okay, so first of all, we're going to show you how to do just a straight line. We're going to take a magic marker, and for this particular waffle grid, I like to try to make as much of my glass as I can. The first cut we're going to make is a long cut. We're going to be using our running pliers, plastic running pliers to do that. And whenever you use running pliers, it's always going to be a long cut, and you have to have enough glass that's going to fit on both ends of here. So what I'm going to probably do is make a line about 2 columns of these rows over. So I'm going to take a ruler just for a guideline. Use one of my old rulers here. The edge of my glass is here. Here's one of those columns. Here's a second column. This would be great. This would be far enough away from the edge of the glass. That way if I mess up and I don't make the cut perfectly, I can keep on going and make the most of my glass. Now, some of these markers that we might be using in class may be used and old like this one is. All you need is a mark that you can see. If it makes a mark you can see, that is fine. It'll work great. If you're using dark glass ever, you might need to use a silver Sharpie instead of a black Sharpie so it shows up. Now, what we're going to do first is we're going to use the glass cutter. This is the glass cutter. This is the wheel, okay? And this is the ball on the end for tapping. We don't really use these teeth for grozing. We use another tool for that. Now, before I cut this thing, I want to grease the wheel. So I've got a baby food jar here, and this baby food jar has got a little sponge in it. And that sponge has had some cutting fluid added to it. I'm going to take this wheel, and I'm going to roll it on here 3 or 4 times. And I will grease this wheel probably every 4 or 5 cuts I make. It'll allow the glass cutter to last longer. And it will cut better. Even though this wheel was designed not to have to use oil, it will last longer and work better if you do. And this is a used cutter, as you can see. Some of the paint's come off, but it still works pretty good. Now, this part you won't be able to see, but when I cut glass, I'm right-handed. So my feet need to be positioned in a certain place. Since I'm right-handed, my left foot is going to be facing straight ahead, and my left foot's going to be facing straight ahead, and my right foot's going to be slightly out. If I was left-handed, okay, then my right foot would be forward and my left foot would be slightly out. Okay, so it's kind of the opposite. So as far as how you hold this thing, the way I recommend you hold it, don't hold it like a pencil. If you hold it like a pencil, you're not going to have an even surface. You always want it to be perfectly vertical. You never want it to lean, ever, not left or right. If you ever lean it, you could possibly lean it forward a little bit, but it's better to keep it as vertical as you possibly can. And the best way to hold it, the way I tell people is make a peace sign and put the glass cutter in between your fingers like a peace sign. Make sure that the teeth are down. These teeth are going to be facing the glass. So you'll notice that there is a little rest right here and a little rest right here. You're going to put the two fingers, the peace sign is going to go here. These two fingers are going to fit right on top of that rest right there. They're going to fit right there. And this finger is going to go on the bottom of the rest. So when you're looking at your fingers, it would look kind of like this. If you can see it, because I know my gloves are black, so it may be hard to see. But thumb underneath, two fingers on top, in between the two fingers. These two fingers help stabilize it, and you're going to keep it straight. I'm right-handed, so my left foot's forward, my right foot's slightly out. I'm going to take this hand, and I'm going to hold the glass down so it doesn't slide. Now, before I cut, it's always a good idea to try to, if you do a straight cut like this, try to get the line to line up with these ridges that are on the waffle grid. They will cut so much better that way. You'll get more support when you cut them, okay? So I'm holding this in place. My feet are in position. Left foot forward, right foot slightly turned out. I've cleaned my glass. I've greased the wheel. I'm going to take this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this glass cutter right at the very, very, very end of the glass, almost right at the edge. And I'm holding it straight up. And what I'm going to do in just a minute, I'm going to start pushing down. I'm going to push down first before I ever pull back. I'm going to push down with some pretty decent pressure. And after I push down with decent pressure, I'm going to pull it back toward myself. The reason why I like to pull it back toward myself is so I can see where I'm going. People sometimes do cut away from themselves. It's hard for me sometimes to see my path of my line. My hand gets in the way. So I like to pull back. So when I make this cut, I want you to listen for the sound. Hopefully the microphone will pick it up. But this is the sound that you want to hear when you are cutting glass. Okay? So here we go. I'm going to push down. Now listen for the sound. And when I pull back, I don't stop. I don't hesitate. I push down and I keep going. And when you first are learning how to cut glass, you can go kind of slowly, but your pressure has to be consistent and your speed has to be consistent. Okay, listen for that sound. And you go all the way off the glass, all the way off the glass. Now, but I can't wait too long. If I wait too long, the glass will heal itself if I wait too long. So what I'm going to do is, at the end of this line, I'm going to put two fingers, index finger and middle finger, on each side of that line, my thumb on top of the line, and I'm going to take this ball end, and I'm going to start tapping it past my fingers. I'm going to tap it all the way to the end. You don't need to tap it so hard that you're going to shatter the glass. But you want to tap it a little bit. Tap it a couple of times, then turn it. Keep the glass really low to the surface. The reason why is sometimes it will break apart on you. And if you have it really high, this big old piece could fall and shatter, and you've wasted a lot of glass and maybe hurt yourself. So again, I'm going to tap it again underneath. You only tap underneath. And you may not be able to see this with the camera, but I can see that this is starting to run. This fissure, this cut that I made on top, I'm seeing the vibrations causing it to go all the way through. Now I've tapped it on both ends now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my plastic running pliers. Okay, plastic running pliers. I'm going to show you these first. These have like a little bit of like a tongue underneath. That's always going to go underneath. I'm going to use this one, but it's just not as prominent. And on top of it, usually there's going to be a white line. There's usually a white line, or sometimes there's a line like this that tells you, hey, this is the top of it. So I better hurry before the glass heals itself too much. So I'm going to take these plastic running pliers. I'm going to go all the way in. The glass is going to come all the way to the back of the throat of these plastic running pliers. And then I'm going to make sure that this white line lines up with my black marker line. And then I'm going to gently, gently squeeze this. And I want to show you something. You don't have to squeeze real hard. If I've cut it right, I can just take my thumb and my middle finger and watch. I can just gently squeeze it. And if I did it correctly, it comes right off. Now, for some reason, it didn't go all the way here. It did not break all the way down. Why did that happen? Well, a couple of possibilities. One, maybe my pressure. Maybe I let off on my pressure when I was talking to the camera. Maybe there was a piece of dust. Or maybe I waited a little too long. And because glass is strange, sometimes after you make a fissure on it, it will try to heal itself. Now, it's not going to miraculously be 100% normal, but sometimes those little molecules that we disrupted when we made the cut, sometimes they want to kind of start bonding back together, and it will cause your cut not to work out as well. So we got most of it to cut off pretty cleanly. Let's try to do one more, and we won't try to wait around as long this time when we do it. So again, just take your marker, get about 2 columns width away. And there is a chance that maybe this glass cutter is starting to get old too, and that might be why. We made our mark. We don't need to grease the wheel again because it already has been. We're going to take it. We're going to put pressure with this hand to stabilize it. Make sure this line is on this plastic ridge. My left foot's forward, my right foot's out, though you can't see that. I've got my glass cutter in between my 2 fingers like this with the teeth going down, thumb underneath, 2 fingers on top. Looks like this. I'm going to put my glass cutter here at the very edge. I'm going to start pushing down, really kind of hard, and I'm going to pull back using consistent pressure and consistent speed, and I can't stop. Once I start, I got to keep going. So listen for the sound. All right, I'm going to start tapping right away. 2 fingers on each side. Tap. All the way. You can even come all the way back. I recommend flipping it around, keeping the glass low. Now I'm going to use my my ring pliers. I'm going to pick the side I think broke the best. I put it in all the way, deep as I can. I very gently squeeze, like so. If it doesn't work, then go to the other side. Maybe there was a better cut here. Make the cut, and that one came off pretty well without a hitch. I didn't follow the cut on the line as accurately as I could have, but I'm pretty doggone close. So that is how you make a straight cut using the plastic running pliers. In our next demonstration, we're going to show you how to do some other types of specialized cuts.